Welcome back. Another episode of Barn Table Talks. I'm your host with Andrew Fansler and Travis Corman here. We have also Jason Beck. Jason, how you doing today?
Great. Happy to be here.
Good. We normally start off with a random question. I think you've watched a few episodes and gave us a heads up not to ask about a movie, so we won't do that. But I will ask you if you could sit down and have a meal with one historical figure from any point in time, which one would make the most impact on your life and possibly why?
Yeah, it's a great question.
And I didn't prep anybody for this either, so he didn't have no time to.
Historical figure.
Let me go. You want me to go over to Andrew first?
Yeah. You can
Yeah.
Yeah,
Give me
I'm
just a second.
I'm just still sitting here trying to think of who it would be. I don't know necessarily about a historical figure, but I think it would be really interesting to sit down with Elon Musk. Some of the things, from a business standpoint, some of the things that his mind has thought of that others haven't. He's obviously a historian to come up with the name Tesla. He's put so much money into things that weren't normal. A lot of it's new, a lot of it's advanced, a lot of it's different.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it would be cool to be able to sit down, have lunch with him, and just try to learn a little bit more that what's in that mind, because it's an absolute brilliant mind, obviously.
Sometimes you meet people in your life where, like, man, sometimes I wish I knew. I wish I knew as much as that guy probably forgot.
Yeah.
And you have people you come across sometimes like that, and it's different for everybody. But
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's amazing the way sometimes people tick like that.
Right. And then you always sit there and worry, though. If you sat down and had lunch with that person, would you be disappointed?
Right?
Would you be disappointed in how it went and what your feedback and how they portrayed themselves and all those things? Or would you be better off just thinking it's a myth and we're going to go with that? So,
Right?
never know.
The what ifs.
All right, Jason, while we're waiting on you, I'm going to ask Travis, who would you sit down with?
Well, my historical figures, I look back to many of the great leaders and the values that they would bring forward and how they got a movement of people to follow them. Some of them had bad motives, some of them good motives, many of them. But so take it back to World War II, where you had one or two, either way. We had Patton, we had so many great generals, so many great people that had decisions of hundreds of thousands of lives in their hands. And just understanding, probably not trying to live the stress that they lived to make those decisions, but appreciating those times when they made those decisions, because that's probably what I would do.
Yeah.
Just enjoy that time, pick their brain, and just be like, oh man, great stories and just great time. So yeah, that's probably what I would try. But
Right.
What about you, Jason?
My thought process was kind of along the same line as yours, Travis. I would kind of go to our nation's history and presidents, whether it be Lincoln or Washington, to look to for advice, and just, they were at the head of a nation at the very beginning, and during very tumultuous times for both of them. And so just seeing how they led people in those situations, and
You wonder, like, they had a big picture vision in their head.
yeah.
But you wonder what that big picture vision was compared to what it actually is.
Yeah.
And stuff. And trying to be able to see what they had envisioned or we're going to be our own country. Right? And has it ever developed into that? Or did it even start totally different? Like, right? Like the idea compared to the completion is two totally different things possibly.
Yeah.
So
Did it develop into, like you said, what their vision was, or did
Probably
it
not.
just
Honestly, probably not,
organically
right?
develop into what it became?
take it back to a local level
Yeah.
and go back to, like, business owners from a small to a large scale, whatever it is, like the vision that one person had to start a business may not be the same vision the business is
Yeah.
today, and I think all of us can probably speak to some testament of that. So
So,
on that, Jason, why don't you
yeah, that's what I was getting ready
tell
to
us a little bit about yourself, where you come from, what you do, and
Yeah.
dive into that a little bit.
Yeah. So Jason Beck, I grew up in Atlanta, Indiana, and grew up farm family, and got two older brothers and two younger sisters. Grew up in a very small town. So a town of about 700, Atlanta, Indiana, not Atlanta, Georgia.
you can blink and miss it, right?
That's right.
When you tell people I'm from the ATL, do they not realize there's a slash IN after that?
Yep. It happens all the time. You try and Google search Atlanta, the only one thing you're going to get is Atlanta, Georgia.
Right.
So, no, but today, working a role for Beck's. In the
Beck's Hybrids, yep.
Beck's Hybrids, the northwest side of the state, west, northwest, kind of central, cover 10 to 12 counties there, with two other guys on the Beck's team, Jason Kennedy and Josh Streetmatter. Recently started that role here within the last 6 months or so, back in November of last year, and enjoying that. It's a sales role, so working as a seed representative with those guys and our home, what we consider our home team at Beck's. Closest to Atlanta, the headquarters is at, and just get to serve farmers. And so I really enjoy what I get to do there. And I work with our dealer network, which is kind of, they're the face of the community for Beck's, and enjoy what I get to do and working with our dealers and working with the team that we have at Beck's. I'd say grew up a farm family, and, just as any other farm kid would, worked on the farm, and so have got a lot of good experience, whether it's processing, production, research, safety. I've worked in quite a few different departments there at Beck's, and just enjoyed growing up on the farm and being part of the family business.
So when you talk about Beck's, some of us, like myself, know a little bit about the history of the company.
Some of our viewers may not.
And to me, it's just fascinating. If you don't mind, can you share a little bit about the history? I think it was your grandfather that kind of got it up and going and helped get it in the direction as to what it has become today. If I understand, it's the largest family-owned seed company in the United States, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
that's correct.
That's unbelievable. Awesome.
So, in 1901, my great-great-grandfather would have purchased 80 acres, which is where the home farm is today. 80 acres there in Atlanta, Indiana, Hamilton County, and started the farm there. It was just a farm and had a passion for seed. And then in 1937, officially started what we call Beck's Superior Hybrids. And that started from a 3-acre allotment of seed corn that was given to us by, was provided to us by Purdue University. And so my great and great grandfather both got a 3-acre allotment, so a total of six acres of hybrid seed corn that started Beck's back in 1937, and we've been very blessed to be an Indiana-based company and kind of homegrown in Indiana there, and just been really blessed to grow throughout the years. And where we're at today, and being the largest family-owned seed company in the U.S. So from 1937, let's fast forward to when your grandfather, Sonny Beck, kind of took over the company. And I believe it was once he kind of got the reins that he really started changing the directions of the company. Yeah. And it's probably created what we see it, got it started in the direction as to what we see it as today. I know I'd mentioned in past conversation, marketing's been a big key for Beck's. Could you share a little bit about what your knowledge is there, as far as, what was your grandfather thinking? So back in about 1965, mid 1960s, was really when my grandpa, Sonny, he came back to the farm, came back to the business, and 1965 is actually when my dad was born too.
Okay.
And so that's in 1965 when my grandpa came back from Purdue. He was kind of challenged by some professors as he was coming back that said, or kind of questioned him. He said, if you want to create your own seed business here, good luck. And, the big boys are going to eat you up. And so there in 1964, 1965 is when he wrote a white paper about how he was not going to allow that to happen. And so that's kind of the visionary that we talk about, and my grandfather kind of wanting to fight for something and show that we could be a family-owned seed brand, a family-owned company, and thrive in the seed industry, in the agriculture industry. So that was a kind of a pivotal moment in our history, where my grandpa came back from Purdue and said, "Hey, we're going to do this thing," and we were still a farming operation, but there around that time frame, from the 60s to about the 90s. Maybe had a little bit of a backup plan if the seed business didn't work out. We're still a farming operation, and so my grandpa had again the vision to push the company to what it was and what it is today, and we've been very blessed to be very successful in that.
I don't know your grandfather. Never had the opportunity to introduce myself to him. What is he like, and what was his degree at Purdue? Did he go to ag in Purdue? What did he go to Purdue for?
I want to say he got his degree in ag economics.
Ag economics. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. It's not very common, and I'm going to pay a compliment, because I wish I could market my business the way and to the success that you guys have marketed and been able to grow Beck's. There are three major marketers in agriculture, right? That do it right. John Deere, Precision Planting, and Beck's. And I'll put that in every conversation that I talk about marketing. And it's amazing. And that's a huge compliment to, the company and to the people that are involved. And there's many people involved now, to keep that ball rolling. But to be able to see that from an early on, that marketing is going to be a piece. And I know you and Andrew were talking before I walked in earlier. That takes something special, and to realize that marketing was possibly what's going to help push and shove that forward. So that's a big compliment, to be honest with you.
Well,
I'm impressed.
it's been incredible, and I know that's one of the things I've talked about a lot. Whether it's a farm, whether it's a real estate company, technology company, seed company, marketing is the key. There's so many people that have good products out there today. But if you can figure out how to get your
Get your good products in front of the right people,
that's a win right there. And for somebody to think back, and one of the things that I think is pretty cool is my great grandfather owned a bakery, and I've still got some newspaper clippings and stuff from the late 30s when he started advertising the bakery in the newspaper, which was just unheard of, right? You didn't advertise a business in the news. The newspaper was for news. And he started advertising, you can buy 13 donuts or 12 donuts for a penny a donut or something like that, or you get a baker's dozen, for the same price as 12, different things, just marketing. And then you take it to a whole nother level as to what your grandfather and in the company. I'm sure he's got the Beck's family has a team of people around them that are just phenomenal.
Yeah, we have a really, really good team, and I think you guys, hit the nail on the head. It's about marketing and it's about relationships.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of our business has been built on is those two things, is marketing and relationships, and really a lot of it is the relationship piece.
Right. But along with that, it's got to come like the culture of the business, and the culture which it starts at the top and goes down. But I'm guessing the culture of the business is probably fantastic as well, right?
Yeah. Yep. We've been extremely blessed with good people, and that's honestly a lot of what drew me to come back to Beck's.
Yeah.
We're by no means as a family required to come back and be a part of the family business. It's we're actually encouraged to go elsewhere and get experience as a family member, and so I spent a year down in Texas actually working for Fidelity Investments.
Yeah.
And that was after graduating from Purdue. And which is highly encouraged to go get experience elsewhere, and make sure that the family business is something that you truly want to be a part of, and be able to bring those experiences that you've had outside of the business back to the business. And yeah, our culture, it's been built on. I can remember growing up in the family business. There's so many people that really the people make up the culture, and so we've just been blessed with a lot of good people.
It takes good leadership to maintain a good culture.
Yeah.
So it's the right people in the right place, and I'll pay a compliment. I've had the opportunity to work, with a few of your research divisions and people, and coming up there and working at your facility and stuff like that. And I guess it caught me off guard. It really floored me. Doing what we do, we get to go in, we get to see a lot of different management styles, a lot of different businesses, a lot of different things like that. But when I went in there and those 3 or 4 days that I was there and stuff like that, the smiles, the feeling around the place, how you cared for the employees, different things like that. I was very impressed because that is very hard, and you can echo this more than I can. That is very hard to maintain and grow and scale. Like, you can naturally do a small growth, but to be able to scale something to the size and to what you guys have, that's very impressive to be able to scale that ability. And that means you do have at least a few right people in the right places on your bus. I mean, that's very hard to do, and I was very impressed with
A lot of times that's the lingo we use too, is finding the right people and finding the right seat on the bus.
Yeah.
So
And in realizing if they're in the wrong seat doesn't mean they're the wrong person. Doesn't mean maybe in the wrong seat.
Yep.
It's hard to do, and it's very impressive that I was very impressed with that.
My first 2 years back with the company, a little over 2 years, I was working on our HR team, specifically in talent acquisition. So I got to be a part of a lot of those interviews and conversations that are important. Who you bring into the business and the impact that they're going to have, because every single person that you bring into the business is going to have an impact on the business.
Positive or negative.
That's right.
Positive or negative.
One of the things my dad has always said is what happens inside the company shows up outside the company.
Yeah.
And so just keeping that in mind when you're, that's kind of the visionary side of hiring, is making sure that this isn't just someone that you need today. This is someone that's going to have an impact on your business well into the future.
Yeah.
And so it's better to take a longer time in that hiring process and making those hiring decisions.
I say hire slow, fire fast. That's what they don't be afraid if it's the wrong person. I'm gonna say don't fire, but don't be afraid to move them. Right? Make sure to try to get them, because they're not going to be happy long term. Yeah. Just make sure it's the correct thing for what you need as a person and stuff like that. What I wanted to. It's a large compliment, because I had not seen a company to that scale or size that had that culture to this point in my career, and I was very impressed with it. So
I think a lot of organizations that will spend, they might spend 1 to 2, max 3 interviews with someone before making that hiring decision, and they may have 1 to 3 people involved in those interview conversations. From a Beck standpoint, we're not afraid to go to 3, 4, 5 interviews if needed, and we're probably going to have somewhere between 7 and 10 different people that are involved in different departments, different aspects of the business, kind of maybe our culture leaders that are going to be a part of those hiring conversations, to really make sure that we're keeping that focus on our culture and bringing good people into the business that are
falls apart quick.
Yeah, it can.
It can.
But we've been very intentional about that, and we've been very blessed to see the results of a lot of good people coming into the business and having a positive impact.
That's a struggle. You're in a small town nowhere, right? I mean, honestly, that's got to be a battle you guys have had in the past as you grew. Like, man, how are we going to attract top talent? How are we going to get these people to 700-person large ATL, Indiana? Like, that's a tough thing.
I'm sure Beck's as a company has exceeded the population of Atlanta, Indiana. Or am I?
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. Beck's as a company is bigger than their population of their town.
this last summer we crossed the mark of having just over 1,000 employees that are
site?
on the Becks. Yeah, that are not on site in Atlanta, but
company-wide.
overall,
Company-wide.
company-wide,
Gotcha. Yeah.
We've got just over 1,000 employees.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
technically larger than the town of Atlanta, the small town
awesome.
of Atlanta.
So, okay, I want to touch back on something really quick that I thought was pretty cool and a good idea. Your previous work, you said it was almost, not necessarily a requirement, but you were encouraged to go away from the farm, go somewhere else, take a job doing something different prior to coming back to the family operation. So how did you wind up in Texas? And when you say Fidelity, I'm wondering, were you an analyst? What were you doing for Fidelity?
Yeah, great question. So my story is a little bit different. I've been fortunate. I've had the opportunity to be a part of 3 different industries already in my young career, in that I've been in aviation, I've been in finance, and now I'm back in agriculture, the seed industry. And so aviation is what I went to study at Purdue. I got my degree in aviation management.
What was your hope you'd be? Where were you going to lead that? Where was that going to lead you to?
Pipe dream was to come back and fly for Beck's one day. Still would have taken the opportunity to go work and fly for someone else.
Gotcha.
But got to my senior year, I had gotten all my flight ratings and was working towards my master's degree at Purdue, and hoping to go fly for a corporation. Got to my senior year, was about to become a flight instructor, ran into a limitation with my eyesight. And so I can only fly during the day. I can't fly at night. Quickly learned that maybe even your own family company is probably not going to want to hire you if you can only fly half the time.
Yeah, right.
We're going to stay at night, guys. It's okay.
And so, through a relationship from Purdue, I had a friend that was moving down to Texas. And so, a lot of nights in prayer and nights in long conversations with family members that kind of drew me to a conclusion that it was time to get out of the aviation industry and pursue something different. And so had a buddy that was moving down to Texas to start a similar role as what I was going to go into, which was a customer service based role until you get licensed, and then you're going to be a stockbroker for Fidelity. And so moved down there about 3 months after college graduation to Keller, Texas, working for Fidelity Investments. First 3 months was a lot of learning, just financial lingo, and got my Series 7, Series 63, and SIE with Fidelity. Was with them for just a little over a year, and trading different types of investments and managing folks' portfolios for a little over a year. Enjoyed what I was doing and built a pretty strong community there in Texas, but didn't necessarily enjoy being 13 and a half hours away from home.
Kept drawing you home.
Yeah.
And you couldn't fly at night, so you couldn't fly back
That's
and
right.
forth.
That's right. So
The commute was terrible.
again, conversations with trusted family members and then trusted non-family members. I remember specifically a conversation with Bethany Grimmel after being with Fidelity for about a year. Bethany's on our leadership team at Beck's. And just walking through that decision with me of, is it right to stay in Texas for a longer amount of time? Is it right to come back to the family business? And ultimately, at that point, about a year and a quarter or so into my tenure with Fidelity, I decided that I didn't really want to pursue additional certifications in the financial services industry, and so made that decision to come back and join our HR team at Beck's. Again, I've always loved our people at Beck's, and so that's really what drew me into the HR department, was because I was going to have a good opportunity to be involved with all of our employees internally, whether that's recruiting new employees or servicing the employees that we have and making sure that they have everything that they need in their Beck's experience.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha.
Kinda.
So, I got to ask the question, nosy. Do you fly still today?
Not as much. I can fly. That's actually a good thing about the aviation industry is technically my pilot's license never expires. I just have to go back and do some recurrent training, and then I can go fly again. So
what's your favorite thing to fly?
I did most of my training in a Piper Warrior, so that's probably the aircraft I'm most comfortable in. It's a low wing, single engine aircraft, and really enjoy flying the low wings. A lot of people enjoy the high wings, but I prefer
That's
low
just
wing.
what you kind of grew up on, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did my private in a high wing Cessna 172.
Yeah.
And then pretty much all my other training was in the Piper Warrior, and then my multi-engine training was in a Tecnam. So
Gotcha. Now
So
a
you
little
do
bit
have
on
your
the
multi.
Yep.
Awesome.
now a little bit on the we kind of skipped over your personal era. You married and kids or
Nope, not
No?
married.
Okay.
I had a girlfriend for almost a year.
Yeah.
And so
Gotcha.
her name's
I was
Grace.
just-
She actually works for Beck's as well.
Okay.
She's a pilot for us. So.
Oh wow.
Gotcha.
She can fly.
That's
after
right.
that.
That's right.
Gotcha.
That's right.
Awesome. Now, does she fly?
I was wondering because I was asking
Beck's-
about
Beck's-
do they like to fly?
Yeah.
The type of thing, like if your significant other, do they like to be in a small aircraft? Because that's not for everybody, right? I mean, some people just don't like that
Right.
being in a small.
Now that she has had the opportunity to fly our company aircraft and bring in customers on tours and
Yeah.
that sort of thing, I don't know that she wants to go back to the small puddle jumpers.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
That's what I was going to
She's
ask.
had the taste of a little bit more luxury. Like, come
Does
on.
she like to fly the actual company aircraft?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So, okay, you came back for HR. You're doing time in the seed. I'm guessing that one of the thought processes from a family side is they want you to know all facets of the company. Tell us a little bit about that experience because, we talked about culture, we've talked about marketing, we've talked about all these things, but you're several generations down in a family business, and in certain companies, that's got to be tough because, I'm a first generation farmer. A lot of people say that's got to be so difficult. It had some difficulties, but it's way easier to me than being a third, fourth, fifth generation in a family business because the expectations that are there. You come back with new ideas and they think, this is how we've always done it. We don't want to listen to you. So explain that a little bit to us. I mean, it's got to be awesome to have the opportunity, but it's got to be a little bit difficult too to figure out where do I fit
Make your
in
own
this
path.
massive company.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So we are in the fifth generation of our family farm and a family business, and have 3 generations that are actively working in the business.
We have 3 generations of bosses.
Right. Yeah.
Let's rephrase that for you.
Yeah.
We got a lot of chiefs.
Yeah.
And it can be hard to work in a family business, but it's just more so just a blessing, and you kind of take every day as it comes. And like I said, we're not required to come back and work in the family business or anything like that. It's a choice that we have, and luckily enough for us and our family, each of us have, as we've come back and decided to be a part of the family business, we've all kind of found our routes or avenues, and they've been in different parts of the business. So I have some cousins that work in the family business and in country store. My aunt runs the country store. My aunt Kim runs the country store. And then my oldest brother, Corey, he is just took on a new opportunity of running our commit rewards team. And he also deals with supplier relations. And then my older brother, Chris, he is on our facilities team. So any new construction projects, he's heavily involved in those. And has a team around him that supports him in that. And then I'm on the seed sales side of things. I've been in HR, and so we've all kind of naturally gravitated towards different areas, which has been really, really good. And it's been a lot of fun to work together, and bounce ideas off each other. I have very intelligent family members that have great ideas. And I hope that I can bring some great ideas to the table, and we kind of bounce off each other in that way, that we're all a part of the same goal and the same mission of helping farmers succeed. And so if all of us can rally around that, then it's a successful day for our family, and it's a successful day for Beck's and our customers.
Right.
So
So when you're looking forward and you're looking at the future of ag, and you know, I look back and this is my 31st crop year that I've had a crop that's been actually under my name, my ownership. And I look at all the changes I've seen in those 31 years. You know, what are you looking at in the future? You know, you're a young guy, you're in a fantastic business. I think ag is as good of industry as anything to be in right now. What are you looking for in the future of ag? What do you see?
yeah, it's a good question. Think back to my dad's State of the Company message in 2022. That's one thing I think of, and that is, he had a quote that came from that, and it's, the more we change, the more we must stay the same.
Yep.
And so I really appreciate that, and I think that's a central part of who we're going to be moving forward. Is there's things in our methodology and our processes that may change to the betterment of agriculture and the future, but there's a lot of things within our business that are central to who we are, our culture, our people, that are going to stay the same, and that are just central focus points for us. And then there's a lot of cool things that we're doing. We have an innovation department that's looking into, it's been in the ag industry for a while, but autonomous tractors, autonomous sprayers, those sorts of things. There's a lot of neat opportunities that are going to come to fruition eventually.
Yeah.
That we are looking into. We have kind of look into the farmer of the future. We're looking into a more digital experience for our customers, and then I would also say here recently, the last few years, we've been working on a lot of research through Illinois and Purdue around product characterization and our root reveal research, which really kind of dives in beneath the surface and figuring out root structure, root mass, and how we can make better decisions on the farm, knowing how each hybrid is characterized. And so those are some of the things that we're really looking into and excited about diving into, in terms of what ways we can improve our business, ways we can improve the customer experience, and what we can look forward to in agriculture.
So I had an opportunity to visit your facility. I was just sitting here as you were talking, I was sitting here thinking, it's probably been not quite a year ago, maybe 10 months ago or so. I came up with an actual friend of mine and got to do a little bit of touring of it. And that's one of the things that I think I was most fascinated with. Was we went to this room and they had these great big boxes that had, I want to say it was string or fishing wire or something like everywhere throughout it, but they were full of dirt, and there was a great big corn plant there. And then they had like a conveyor or something that like shook it down to where all the dirt just fell off. And I don't remember, did they wash it off or?
This was like that marbles game where you pull the straws out and
No, because all the strings were still in there.
It's some type of media that it's a chemical tote that they've repurposed. And so there's a clear covering on the outside of that chemical tote, and then there's line that runs through it.
Yeah.
And that root mass, will connect its way down through the line and through the media that's in there.
Yeah.
And we're able to study.
Yes, and they could see, okay, do these roots go down like this? Do these roots go out like, what little I got out of it, because it was a quick thing. It wasn't a long, made perfect sense. Is so we as farmers, some of us band right here. Then sometimes we come back and put it
half
over
between
here.
them. Yeah.
And if the roots are going down and we're putting it over here, it's got to get all the way through the soil to where at some point, hopefully they intersect.
Come together. Yeah.
And so just that research there is like, hey, we could really either reduce our fertility needs,
Yeah.
or you just move your
Effectively
placement.
place.
I mean, yeah,
Effectively
you just
place.
again, this is where the technology comes in. It's just amazing to me.
Fertility,
Yeah, it's just amazing the direction that's going to go.
And the ability to measure it, to be able to quantify it behind it now, like actually having the science and
Yeah,
the ability to do it, not theorize about it, but
Yeah, it's here. We've characterized each of our hybrids, whether they are a vertical hybrid, a horizontal hybrid, or a balanced hybrid in terms of their root structure. And we've got a lot of interesting findings that I think are going to be helpful and beneficial to farmers moving forward. So.
So when you look at that research, I mean, they say we're trying to feed a growing population, and you look at the research that like Beck's are doing. You look at the technology that you guys offer here. I mean, what do you think's next? I mean, when you start to combine these things, I mean, Jason, we kind of heard a little bit from you. Travis, I want to hear a little bit from you. What do you think's next in this? I mean, we're talking autonomy. We're talking driverless tractors. We're figuring out how the roots are going to grow. I mean,
so a lot of this is money. A lot of what we see on the market and the adaptability is money driven. And I think you would agree with that. It still has to make sense. Still has to have an ROI for the end user. Our largest thing we try to compensate for right now is a labor shortage. And labor shortage is probably not a correct word. It's a labor unwillingness. Yeah, we have more people than we've ever had in the world. We're just not as willing to work as hard as we once were. Right. So it's probably not a labor shortage. It's just like people are just not as
You have to locate it.
Yeah, you got to locate it. Like there's not physically there. So I think that you're going to see an autonomy push to compensate for the labor shortage, but I think it's going to happen more in a specialty crop scenario first, and then that I believe the adaptation is going to happen coming across into what we see as row crops, a little slower, but I also think it's going to downsize the size of our equipment. We're causing a lot of compaction. And that's been studied, but I don't know that it's been advocated for. I don't know that it's been, the education behind it probably hasn't actually been done. The amount we're probably impacting what we can grow because the compaction we do out in the field, traditionally running, I think we're probably going to see a decrease in horsepower, a decrease in weight, a decrease in size, maybe an increase in the number of machines out there, like just bring them in smaller. You may be able to get out there earlier and stuff like that. So I think you're going to see some kind of flip at some point. I think your overhead's going to drop as a guy that's trying to own a 600 horsepower, 500 horsepower four-wheel drive tractor. Now he may have 300 or 420 horsepower tractors that are actually able to accomplish more in that same amount of time frame if they can safely figure out the autonomy and affordably figure out the autonomy piece where it's got the cameras and the safety and everybody buys into it.
Right.
Moving them from place to place right now is the largest obstacle.
Right.
We're okay when we set it free in a field and it's got its boundaries and stuff like that, but getting it there, getting it to the next place.
Right. Because, if you got a 360 acre field, it's one thing to get it there and let it drive all day.
Right.
But what if you've got
I got a 37 acre piece,
a 6 acre field, and a 10 acre field?
What happens if you farm like the average person and
Right.
it depends on the region, right? It depends on the region. But yeah, so I personally see something driving it. That's our next big change, I think, within ag. But I don't know, I'd like to hear what you think. This could even go over into genetics. Like what is the maybe it's a major change that's going to affect us on the genetics side that's going to be a big push. I don't know.
One of the things that you mentioned there was, practical and profitable. And one of the ways that I think Beck's continues to deliver on that for farms is through our Practical Farm Research Program, PFR. It's a program that we've had for this year. Or last year technically, we're celebrating 60 years that program has been around. And I grew up in that program.
Well-published program.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my dad, that was my dad's role when I was growing up, he was leading our PFR team. And so got to be a part of a lot of those early studies that we were conducting. And, program was started back in the 60s there. But I think there's a lot of value, whether it's a decision that, you can find things in that book that have no investment cost, and then you can find things in that book that have thousands of dollars of investment cost, but they're going to be profitable decisions. If they're PFR proven, which means we've had that study for at least 3 years and it's been profitable for 3 years, it's a decision that you can make today knowing that this is going to be profitable for my operation. It works.
Yeah. And saying that, well, yeah, but I mean, these guys are kicking you money on the side. I'm sure that's what it is. You're publishing this just because they're kicking you a check, right? Is that the way that works?
Nope. That's they sign an agreement. If they want to be a part of our
good,
PFR,
bad, whatever it is, you're publishing
that's
it, right?
It's completely unbiased. And
so that is,
So I think from a seed standpoint, from a chemical standpoint,
technology, closing wheel, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. It is unbiased research that farmers can rely on. If they don't have the time or the capital to make those investments and learn from that research, they can open a book and say, this is a decision that I'm going to make next year that is going to have a profitable return on my farm.
But think about that impact right there that you just said. Okay. I mean, I own and operate a farm myself. I couldn't imagine trying to get through 2% of the trials that you guys do in a year.
Well, and then not just that, but actually having the ability to track it from a controlled environment.
That's what I mean.
Right? I mean, because you can try to do your own study, your own trials, but if you don't have a control to baseline things off of, you go and you put rope cleaners on, closing wheels, name it, whatever it is, right? I don't want to just do half the planer. Okay, well, did that make a big difference on your operation? Like, nobody does that very well.
Nobody knows.
Right?
And you're not going to just do 2 rows of this, 2 rows of that, and you're not going to do it.
No.
The control
nor will you probably find, if it's 2 rows of this, 2 rows of that, 2 rows of that, right? Finding 2 rows of each person to support that at the same time, because it may be 3 different individuals that you have to support that. Right. And that's hard enough to find. So
the control and the continuity in the same people that are conducting those studies that have had the experience of what did this look like last year and what does this look like the next year, I think is important.
Yeah.
So,
very important.
So then taking that kind of feeding off what I was a little bit ago, like, and where do you see the future of what you're going? Like, how do you feel like and maybe that's not even fair to ask. What's Beck's looking like? What's it look like as we go forward? And if you can share or.
I mean, we're excited about the future. Obviously, we've talked about having multiple generations of the family involved in the business and having great people that are helping us and doing what we're doing. I think from a genetic standpoint, we're excited about the relationships that we have and that we can continue to improve upon with other major suppliers. We do have our own proprietary breeding program, but we also have relationships with the other major seed suppliers. I mentioned my oldest brother, Corey. He helps to manage those relationships, as well as one of our leadership team members, Jim Zimmer. And they do a fantastic job of managing those relationships with Corteva, with Bayer, with Syngenta, BASF, those organizations that allow us to have a wide range of options and great genetic diversity that I think we're going to continue to capitalize on, as well as continue to improve upon our own breeding program. So,
are you guys crop as far as breeding, corn, soybeans? Are there other I want to say rotations, other crops that you guys?
We are primarily in corn, soybeans, and wheat.
And wheat, okay.
Wheat has been something that has grown for us here. A couple other suppliers have pulled out of that wheat, the wheat side of things, and so we've been able to capitalize on some opportunities there. We're also, as we've moved further into Kansas, we have gotten more heavily into milo. Is an opportunity that we've taken on. And we've got some other kind of specialty areas that are one-offs, but for the most part, corn, soybeans, wheat, and milo, I would say is kind of where we're at.
So you're willing to, the willingness to learn depending on the geography that you're moving into and stuff like that. Obviously, Kansas has driven most of your milo.
Yeah.
right?
Yep,
And
that's
of course, the further west you go, more of your wheat.
Yep.
We have some around here, but it's minimal production compared to other places.
That's
so.
right. Yep. Kansas is pretty heavy with wheat
Yeah.
and milo both. You know, they don't get as much rain, so
Yeah.
very, very geography dependent, and we're not afraid to jump into new markets if it's the right opportunity, and we feel like we can add value to the customer by doing that.
So, question, one of the questions I always like to ask people are if you could go back and have a conversation with 20-year-old self.
It wasn't that long ago.
But it was not long ago for the way. So you've had a really cool opportunity to be pretty close, grandfather, father, aunts. You've been with some pretty influential people from the ag industry, from business industry in Indiana. I mean, gosh, you got to think what Beck's has done for the state of Indiana, let alone just the ag industry, the state. What would you say is one of the most important people that influenced you in your? Did you single that out?
It's hard to single it out, that's for sure. I mean, I would, if I stick with family, I'd have to say my dad and my grandpa. I mean, and they've both been extremely influential in my life and influential in our communities. I think just instilling good values, and it's maybe the things that are not as shiny, but just the fundamentals that they have instilled in all of us kids is something that I am extremely grateful for and appreciative of. Showing up with a positive attitude and a good work ethic is something that obviously we want our employees to do, but more so we need to do that. And
It's hard to do that.
It can be, yeah.
It can be hard to do that day in and day out. But I was thinking about that a little earlier when you were saying culture and stuff like that. The weight that happens and you bear upon your shoulders as you become a leader in any company or anything like that. It's so hard to carry a positive attitude, and not that you're negative, but you can still tell and you can still feel like and when someone's just not positive, not enjoying or really wore down and stuff like that. But if you're a leader and you got that aura about you, it's amazing how quickly that can creep through the morale or anything like that, and that's hard. That is hard.
It's a lot of the work that we are focused on and doing at Beck's right now is just focused on our people and helping them, allowing them to show up as their best self every single day at work, and that is at work and at home. Because if things are going awry at home, they're not going to show up as a good person at work either. And so making sure we're holistically looking at that and providing the support, providing the encouragement, the positive influence that our people need to continue to grow and to grow as a business, but also to help them grow personally.
Offering is one thing. Having people understand it's okay to accept it's another.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
Because it's not that's a different, I wouldn't say that's a very common approach or anything like that, but that is, that's a generational shift and trying to manage and own or offer benefits or whatever it is into an employee base, right? But then the willingness of employees to accept that's say help, that benefits, whatever that is, that's different too. Because just because it's there doesn't mean that they're engaging in it.
Yeah.
But again, it's another unique offering,
right?
That
you're right.
It's
crazy.
Yeah, it's another touch point. Because you can feed yourself positive things and you can feed yourself negative things. And so some of the fundamental things or the rudimentary things you think about church, you think about just your own personal values, you've got to be reminded of those constantly.
Right.
And if you're not feeding those positive things and good things, then the negative can creep in pretty quick. And so we've got to find ways to stay focused and to continue to share those things for ourselves and for the people that work with Beck's and even just the people in our community to be a positive influence and share things that are going to help people be better.
Nice. It's just amazing. And again, I mean, Jason, I really appreciate you taking the time to come down here, talk with us. I love hearing the story about Beck's. I'll be the first to say, I'm fascinated by Beck's. I'm fascinated by their marketing, like you said, their culture. I mean, it's a great, real American story to see a family that has made the decision to stick with their guns. They're going to do the absolute best they can
To decide to continue to work with family.
Yes.
So,
and they've never sold out. They've always,
that's
stayed.
something that's one thing that, we get questioned, we get asked, man, it's got to be terrible to work with family. Actually, no, I'm sorry you feel that way because it's actually wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've never found anyone that has cared as much, or really truly wants the same, wants success for, I want success for my children, want success for my family, whatever. You want success for the people around you, and the closest ones are your family, right? So naturally it's going to be one of those things you truly want success for.
Mm-hmm.
And when I hear people, man, it's got to be terrible, I couldn't work with my family, like, man, you're missing out. Like, I've truly enjoyed our side, and it sounds like you have as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now I got to ask, you said you're one of 5, right?
That's right.
And so you got 2 sisters.
Yep.
Are either one of them in the business?
They are not. Jordan, she works up north. She works for an organization called Journey to the Well.
Okay.
They work in marriage retreats and business retreats,
Okay.
things like that. And she does marketing for them.
Yeah.
And then my younger sister, Jaden, she is doing some real estate courses and also kind of nannying. At the
Cool.
moment. So
Cool.
both of them are kind of off doing their own thing. But they could decide to come back to the business one day.
They may not, right?
Never know.
The Lord knows.
Right.
Well,
Excellent.
Jason, again, thanks for your time. Thanks for being here with us. Hopefully we get to see you back again at some point.
Yeah.
Really, really.
Maybe we'll do
appreciate
an on-site visit. Maybe we'll take some mics up there and
That'd be fun.
see.
We've got the setup. We can make
Well,
it
maybe,
happen.
there we go.
Even better.
Sounds fun.
Even better.
Well, I want to thank Jason. Thank you for coming down. Thank
Yeah.
Bex for letting him have the time to come down, making sure he has that right.
Yeah.
Thank Land Pros and Experience Tag all for the sponsorship. And next time, I'll see you again, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.